Now, if you're planning on painting plastic with modern automotive type paint, there'll be information on this video that should be very useful to you if you're new to paintwork. Painting plastic is just a little bit different than painting metal because you have to ensure that the plastic, the thinner in the paint or the paint itself, the chemicals will not interact with the plastic and cause damage or melt the plastic in some way. Or, in the worst of all worlds, not adhere to the plastic, and somewhere down the road, either right away or years later, the paint will not stick and the paint will come off just like saran wrap comes off a salami sandwich. So I hope there's some good information that you can use on this video. Now this is the next little part that we're going to work on. And what I wanted to do, and this is something I'm sure a lot of people will find funny. Let me just back this up a little bit. Back in the day when we used to paint a lot of 750 Hondas, the side covers were plastic and you would be painting with lacquer. The lacquer thinner would melt the plastic. And I thought as years went by, basically the plastics got better and better and they didn't have as much tendency to melt. Some of them still do. Now, in the modern motorcycles, and it's especially bad with some of the mirrors that I've done for Luciano, one would melt and one wouldn't. Some of the older bike parts, this is off an '09 650 Kawasaki, but what I wanted to show was you take this part off the bike. And I've spent a lot of time, I took kerosene outside, I didn't want to put this on video, and a brush, kerosened it all down, blew it off with an air hose, brought it inside, about 6 passes with this in a sink with the water running. That takes care of that. Come in with the Prepsol, or Prep-Wall, whatever. You never can tell about these products. I like M600 the best, but M600 is getting impossible to find in a body shop, so this is the second choice. And when we're all done, now I want to save this little step for last. What happens consistently with plastic? This has a little bit of a texture. It's got a little bit, I don't know what you would even call that. It's like a flat paint. It's not even flat painted. These bike companies don't even paint this stuff. They just send it to you like that, flat plastic. Well, as long as I'm going to be addressing this, I want to make it shiny, of course. I like the look of shiny parts. I like especially shiny black. Especially this bike is basically all black. Now, at the point, and I wanted to make this point really clear, at the point that you know you don't have any grease on here, whether you've done it with Simple Green or Prep-Wall, now you can take some good old-fashioned SOS. So the whole purpose of what we're doing right in the beginning is to ultra clean the part. No matter how you do it, cleaning it is job one. And etching it, making sure that it's not shiny like a piece of glass is, because you will not get good adhesion and you'll have, more than likely have a problem that somewhere down the road you'll have a problem. The paint will peel up or chip or whatever. Getting good adhesion, cleaning the part right in the beginning, and it doesn't matter how you do it. In this case, getting it etched with SOS is a good choice. 1000 grit paper, 400 grit paper, soap, Simple Green, get it clean and etched. And of course the problem is, even if you're painting a brand new plastic part and you don't get a good etch and it's not clean, the paint's not really going to stick as well as it should. That is a hard thing to convince people of. And no matter what grit sandpaper, 400 is fine, it doesn't really matter. It's got to be etched and clean. But if I can just show the etching part of it, the point is paint adheres in 2 ways. It adheres, number one, by its chemical composition. The chemicals in the paint at a molecular level go in and melt the paint underneath it or the substrate, or in this case, the plastic. It's a molecular action, a chemical action, whatever you want to call it. There's probably a real super scientific way. Kevin Cameron could tell you about that. I'm not Kevin Cameron, but Kevin Cameron isn't windy either, so thank God he isn't. Imagine having 2 of me. Anyway, what I've done here is etch the part. Now, even though it's plastic, what I'm going to try to do, and I'm going to try to show how to stack the deck in your favor. Because once that part is etched, what it means is at a very molecular level, it's got little ridges in it, little scratches. That's going to allow the paint to mechanically bond and chemically bond. But also, once this is totally sanded, and I can't paint today, it's pouring rain out there. So once I get that part, I wanted to share this too. Years and years and years ago, in the days of painting 750 side covers and whatever, years ago anyway, there was other products beside this. I don't remember what they were, but there would be something you could spray on to promote. It's an adhesion promoter, they call it. What it does, it's the same as self-etching primer. It chemically etches. Now what I'm going to do, because this part, of course, being down by the chain, it's going to take a beating. I'm going to be wiping it off a lot. So this product is called Bulldog. I'm sure it's something you can buy. You actually can buy it in AutoZone, I think. Any body shop supply place. Even if you don't have an account, you can just walk in and buy it. It's, again, I don't even remember what we paid for this. This is a couple of years old. This one's half empty. But what this does, it stacks the deck in favor of that your paint is going to stick to the plastic. Now, a lot of times, the paint sticks fine when you paint it. And everything's good and you're happy and everybody's happy. And all of a sudden, one day, a little stone hits this, or chip, or in this case, it'll take a real beating. And then it's like saran wrap. A big chunk the size of a quarter comes off or something. Because way down deep, you didn't get that bond, that adhesion.
Now, just to be clear, I have painted without Bulldog and with other adhesion promoters. But if you prep a part properly, if it's perfectly clean and sanded with 400 paper or SOS, and it's immaculately clean, it guarantees that you're going to get a really good level of adhesion. And now some of the bikes that I've painted, they're over 40 years old, and I've had them in my collection over 12 years with no damage whatsoever to the paint. But a lot of the reason that they're very successful, whether they're fiberglass or plastic or metal, it doesn't really matter. Getting basic adhesion is the biggest thing that you have to convince people that are new to painting stuff.
These are some of my little winter projects that I use. I try to, because we have 8 motorcycles, I try to take one and upgrade. And whichever parts are taking the most beating, these are 6 years old. Anyway, things take a beating, and I call it refreshing them. Putting a new finish on this, not a big deal. We're not going to bike shows. We're not doing any of that. But it's just nice to have a nice shiny bike. And it's always annoyed me. Whenever you wipe this part off, this flat black, it wipes off like wiping a piece of sandpaper. When it's shiny, beautiful. So anyway, my suggestion is, if you have never had any of this, if you're going to do some painting, especially plastic, and what you're supposed to do is put a light coat on, read the can, you wait a few minutes, put another light coat on. The one thing don't do is try to paint the part with this. If you get a run in this, it's a mess. It just makes a mess. 2 light coats, I think 5 or 10 minutes apart. It's definitely in there. We'll do that off camera. We'll do that tomorrow probably, but I'm going to use the rest of the day to sand this part down, get this part prepped. Now, the other thing in doing all this motorcycle work, or it doesn't even matter if it's a model plane or whatever, a part that a guitar. We've done guitars, of course. And the prepping of the part to get it to where it's immaculately clean, it's sanded, it's etched, and it's ready for either the Bulldog or primer. In this case, what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try to paint the black urethane right on top of this. And if for some reason, is another great little trick. If you paint, in essence, you really should prime this. Well, I don't want to prime it because it makes the paint thicker and thicker. If I don't have to prime it. If I get this clean enough, I can eliminate the priming step. This will be my primer. But what is going to happen to this, I want to have this buffed out before I put it back on a bike, shiny. Those side panels we just did, they're jewelry.
Now, one final thing I have done from time to time is just before I either prime it or if I'm going to use an adhesion promoter, I have a steam cleaner, an ordinary Harbor Freight steam cleaner, especially on wheels or on parts that were oily at one time.
So one step at a time. So when the springtime comes and it's riding season again, I have 5 or 6 little parts that are nice and shiny instead of this what the factory sends you, the flat black thing. And it aggravates me. Now I know it's personal. It's in the eye of the beholder. It's like who likes anchovies and who likes sardines. I don't like either one, by the way. But I don't like the look of flat black parts. And I see these beautiful motorcycles, whatever one you think's the most beautiful, and right in the middle of it, here's some flat black thing. And I always think, well, you just could take that part off and paint it. It looks so nice. Anyway, we have other projects we're going to be working on very soon. This is what I call a filler project. We're waiting for Vlad to get the matching paint for the Bermuda. We'll get that thing moving along. But in the meantime, knowing how to prep a part. Now, what's nice about this, if you, for instance, don't have spray equipment and paint and guns and everything, and you did the prep on this, and you come over to the shop with this part, 2 hours later, you'll be leaving with a part. If I got to do all this preparation work, it may take 2 months. You never know. Anyway, this is a little tip of the day. We try to pass on information. The purpose of all our videos is to pass on information.
So as I say in every painting tutorial video, there are over 3,000 of them on my channel. Search the channel for any topic that you may find interesting. Painting, clear, wheels, buffing, you name it. Anyway, from this video, I hope I've been able to impart the idea. And I have learned it over the years. I've been painting my whole life. I've learned it the hard way, old school way, that if you don't spend the time to clean the part as clean as possible, especially if it's ever had oil on it, clean it with simple green, with degreaser, with SOS, any combination of them. Get the part super clean. Don't get your fingerprints on it, and use self-etching primer if it's going to be painted a different color than the part underneath it. All good paint work, no matter what it is, a motorcycle, a guitar, an airplane, whatever. It starts with good preparation. And once you have that foundation laid, there's a really good chance that at the end of the job, when you buff out the clear, you're going to be as happy as I am. Now, if you're new to our channel, we have a very, very eclectic channel. One of the new features we have now is some of the videos are grouped into groups that you can access all the videos for one category in one mouse click. And it should be very convenient and very handy. Just check out the feature on the main screen playlist. And thanks to everybody for supporting the channel. We appreciate your support, and it makes this channel possible with all the things we do, the painting, the wheels, the polishing. And please take a second or two and hit the like button. And thanks everyone for watching.